We cross now to Canberra to talk with Jim Wallace about what's happening in politics. Thanks for joining us, Jim.
My pleasure as always, David.
Jim, homelessness is a big social concern in Australia. I understand that the New South Wales Parliament has an inquiry underway to help address this problem.
Yes, it has, David, and what's really encouraging about it is it's coming from a slightly different direction. It's not just looking at increasing the public housing stock, but it's looking at more lateral ways of thinking and looking at how we might increase housing affordability, which obviously at the current economic times is very, very important.
So how big is the problem of homelessness in Australia, Jim?
Well, it's too big for a country of our affluence, David. We have 105,000 people homeless at any one night in Australia, and 27,000 of those are actually in New South Wales. So you can see why New South Wales has a particular problem.
I understand Christian organisations have made a submission to the inquiry. What points have they raised?
Well, first of all, we congratulated the New South Wales Government on actually trying to address this from a new direction. Secondly, we hope that charitable organisations might be involved more in the management of any of these solutions they come up with, because obviously they're the ones working at the grassroots and have a real feel for the problem. And finally, as is the case in so many of these social issues, we're hoping that government might actually address this problem at its roots. Clearly, dysfunctional family is one of the main causes of homelessness in Australia, and we need governments to be addressing that as the main cause of the problem.
Also on federal issues, Jim, I hear that the Australian Greens are continuing to push for an overturning of Australia's ban on aid money which is being used for abortions.
Yes, they are, David, and what they're saying is that if you don't do what we want, if you don't change this by regulation, which doesn't require legislation, if you don't respond to the pressure that's out there, then what we'll do is we'll put legislation in, we'll raise legislation that actually requires AusAid to use Australian aid money for abortion. Now, obviously, we don't want that to happen. I'm sure most Christians won't. And so we really encourage everybody to get onto the makeastand.org.au website, to get onto the Aid Not Abortion website or campaign, and to let their views be known to individual members of Parliament.
And finally, Jim, on to the Queensland election, which is coming up real soon, where I understand a number of forums are being organised to help Christians make an informed vote.
Yes, David, in state and federal elections, ACL organises a number of things. First of all, we're running Meet Your Candidate forums in a number of marginal seats in the Queensland election. And secondly, we've also posted responses from parties to a series of questions that we've asked them. Now, I'd really encourage your viewers, if they live in Queensland, to get onto that website. It's qldvotes.org.au, and I would encourage them to get onto that, to have a look at the responses to these questions, to look where Meet Your Candidate forums are, and also, importantly, to send this information out, this link out, to all their friends, and to let their churches know that it's available if you live in Queensland, so that you can inform yourself about who you should vote for in this particular election.
Thanks for your time today, Jim.
Thank you, David.